Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a full day of preserving food. I've got quite a couple things that are about to go bad, and I want to show you a quick way of preserving that anybody can do as long as you have a freezer. The freezer is a great way to preserve if you aren't ready to take on the task of pickling, fermenting, and canning. I myself started out using the freezer to help me preserve food that was about to go bad, even if it was just bought from the grocery store. It doesn't have to be homegrown food. Today I have a mix. I have some blueberries that we purchased. They just weren't the greatest tasting blueberries, so they aren't that great for fresh eating, but they're great for smoothies. So I'm going to be freezing this whole container of blueberries today. And I've got some leftover kale greens from a soup that I was making last night. These are kale greens from my garden. I am going to be picking quite a few more, probably to freeze as well from outside, because the garden is doing really great right now. The lettuce and the kale are not. They are kind of nearing their end, and I want to sow some fall crops in that bed. So we've got to harvest all of the lettuce and the kale and freeze it. So this is really simple. All you need is some baking trays, a freezer. You don't even need a deep freeze. We do have a deep freezer. We purchased one used on Facebook Marketplace because we knew we wanted to get more into preserving our own food, so we did purchase a freezer. But I have done this many times just in a regular pull-out drawer freezer. Baking trays, a freezer. Then you're going to need some kind of container, bag, something to throw your frozen fruit in. A lot of times I will just add my frozen fruit to the bags of frozen fruit that I buy, and I'll just kind of reuse those bags until I can no longer. As for greens, sometimes I'll do a plastic bag. I do reuse them though. I wash them out and reuse them constantly. You can actually see one right there in my dishes. I constantly reuse them until they can't be reused anymore. You can also use a container, but with a container, you want to make sure you pack it pretty full because they can get kind of freezer burnt in there. You can also use reusable stasher bags. I've been meaning to get some of them, but I just haven't gotten around to them, and they're kind of pricey, so use whatever you have, and that's all you're going to need. So I'm going to tilt the camera down so you guys can see a little bit better what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with our greens, just because they're freshly washed already. I just washed them off in a salad spinner. You just want to make sure that they're not too crowded on top of each other. They will still freeze if they are laid on top of each other. That's basically it. So we take this tray and we pop it in our freezer. The reason we freeze them on trays instead of just popping them into the bags and then freezing them is so that they don't stick together in clumps, and this makes sure they're evenly frozen before storing in bags. So I'm just going to pop them in our freezer like this. Next I'm going to do the blueberries. First I'm going to just rinse these in the container. So then I'm going to spread them out, and if I see any ones that are really bad, I'm just going to pick them off. It doesn't really matter too much if you're freezing them anyways. you see any that have anything on them or any like twigs, you can just pull those off. So then I'm going to take both of these trays out to our deep freeze and just lay them in there. So I just lay them in there the best I can. I'll show you. So that one is just down there on top of some frozen stuff. And then the blueberries are down in there. And then you just leave them, and you can check them periodically and just kind of shake them around, make sure they're freezing evenly, and then I'll catch back up with you when they are fully frozen. So as you can see, the kale is thoroughly frozen, and I'm gonna get this into a bag quickly because it is hot out here and it will quickly defrost. So I'm just going to be using a plastic bag. Like I said, I wash these things and reuse them. This is actually one that I just washed. So all you do is put the kale in the bag and then throw it back in the freezer. It's really that easy. This is what the blueberries look like. I did already transfer them to a bag just because these are a little bit harder to work with and I didn't want to drop any of them. But as you can see, they're all individually frozen. None of them are clumped together, which makes them really easy to use, and that's the whole purpose of freezing things on the baking sheet before putting them into bags. So I can definitely add more kale to this bag, and I definitely will be doing that. And that's a great thing, is that you can continually add fruit to these, and it's a really easy way to make sure you're not letting things go bad and wasting food. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss when I post a new video. And I will see you guys in my next one.